Hey there. So let's talk about the different forms of abuse and domestic violence in the 13 key patterns of domestic violence that we find in our systems of abuse wheel. So I'm assuming many of you know that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I'm recording this in Domestic Violence Awareness Month 2020, and it kind of feels like the whole year has been crazy, but hey, you've been living it in your world with me, so you already know that, right? So today I want to talk about signs of the abuse of children in domestic violence. Hey Elizabeth, thank you for watching these videos. Elizabeth just said thanks for doing these videos. I've actually gotten a lot of messages and comments that these are being a helpful resource for people. That is why I'm doing them. I really hope that they continue to be that way. We've already done a video on emotional abuse. We've done a video on physical abuse, even when there are no bruises. And we've done a video on financial abuse. I'm going to be finishing the rest of these videos. In fact, I'm probably going to do a second one after this. So stick around on the page or go check the playlist if you haven't seen the others. I'm going to do a second aspect as soon as I'm done recording this one. So stick around for that one. And that will be about cultural abuse, how culture is used in domestic violence. Now, let's talk about children. Child abuse is a very, very messy, sticky, and extremely painful and difficult topic because if your child or a child that you love is being abused, or you suspect that something is going on and you don't know how to handle it, it's a very, very awkward and painful and devastating situation to be in. So let's go through some signs that qualify as child abuse under the umbrella of domestic violence. These are things that you might not always think about because they're not necessarily limited to physical or sexual assault or molestation of a child. There are other things that are actually child abuse as well. I'm going to give you some book resources at the end that might be really helpful for you. So number one, I'm going to give you 6. Number 1 is threats. Threatening to harm your children or to harm you, or actually harming you or your children if you don't do what your abuser says or what your abuser tells you to do. That is a form of domestic violence. That is something that should be reported, and it is a form of domestic violence. So threatening, saying, hey, if you don't do what I want, it's going to get ugly. You're going to be responsible for what happens. It'll be your fault if something happens to them, or it'll be your fault if something happens to you because you don't do what I want you to do with them being the children, or threatening you in front of the children. These are all aspects of domestic violence. They are extremely serious. They're not normal or healthy on any level. Number 2, money. This ties in with a piece of what we talked about in our video on financial abuse, which you can find in the Systems of Abuse playlist here on Facebook or over on YouTube, either one. So the financial aspect of refusing to support their children, not paying child support, refusing to report income or dodging taxes or income, arguing over legitimate healthy needs, things, medical expenses, educational expenses, clothing, vitamins, these kind of basic things. We're not talking about having a different idea about extravagant or luxurious items. We're talking about basic needs. Being always late with their payments, refusing to provide for children if the children are with them, but often providing for themselves, just not providing for the children's needs. Talking about money of the other parent, especially if you're already separated, or talking about child support with the child. All of these things are aspects of abusing and manipulating children and fall under domestic violence. Number 3, shaming. If you are experiencing other aspects of domestic violence, and then you also realize your spouse is belittling and demeaning you, yelling at you, calling you names, talking about how stupid you are in front of the children, comparing your children to your faults, telling them they're going to grow up to be just like you, and if they don't do what the other parent wants, this kind of thing. Undermining the house rules or your healthy parenting. If you are a parent who has healthy rules and who is giving your children healthy limits, and the other parent insists on being indulgent or negligent to the point of unsafe, where they are undermining your healthy parenting and doing that as a way to shame you around the children. That's a form of emotional and psychological manipulation of the kids, and that is a form of domestic violence. Silencing you through the kids. This is number 4. Leveraging the children to keep your mouth shut about other things, to make you feel that you can't speak out, because if you do, something might happen to the children. That is a form of coercive control and domestic violence. Number 5 is molestation. Now, obviously, someone sexually abusing their own children is considered a form of domestic violence. It's child abuse. It's a form of abuse. But it might shock you, or maybe you already know, how often it happens that someone believes that a person's own children may not be in danger, even though they have molested other people's children. If your spouse is molesting other children, that is still a form of domestic violence. Even if they never overtly harm your kids, they are bringing that attitude of abuse and of power over into your family. So someone who is hurting other people's kids is still a domestic violence perpetrator or an abuser. Number 6 is fear. Scaring you in front of the kids or hurting you in front of the kids in order to instill fear in the children. Manipulating their fear and their silence through intimidation tactics, through threatening you or harming you, hurting you, being intimidating to you to keep all of you scared. All of these are aspects of domestic violence. If you are experiencing any of these, if this is part of your story, if you don't know what to do, please call the Domestic Violence National Hotline that is given in this video, in the description of this video, and ask for advice and help. If you are not safe, call the Domestic Violence National Hotline and they can refer you to a shelter near you. If you are concerned because you see these, document it and get legal advice. Do whatever you need to do to safely protect your children or others' children that you love if you see these happening somewhere else. Child abuse, again, it is not an easy topic. It's a scary, painful, anguishing topic, especially for parents who want to protect their kids and who are healthy and who just care and love their children. But it's important to discuss it anyway. It's important to talk about domestic violence as it affects children. If you are looking for more information, the Saunders study with, my mind just went completely blank. It's from a university in Michigan, and it will come back to me. The Saunders study has recently been released, and it shows the impact of ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, through watching or observing or experiencing a home with domestic violence present. And the statistics, the data on it is powerful. Dr. Joan Meier, that is the woman behind the Saunders study. Definitely check that out. Check out the work of Barry Goldstein at Stop Child Abuse or the StopAbuseCampaign.org. And also, Books by Lundy, Bancroft, such as the one called When Dad Hurts Mom, are super helpful if your children have been observing or have in their past observed you suffering abuse, to know how to help them in proven, tested, healthy ways so that they can overcome the scars and the ACEs that happen from being in a home with domestic violence. So those are some great resources. You can definitely check out the book lists that I have for parents and children on my website at www.wilderness2wild.org. You got to include the www in front of it. wilderness2wild.org. Click on articles and they are pinned at the top. I have a whole list related to kids and teaching children and how parents can help support your kids through even experiencing child abuse or domestic violence. If you have enjoyed this and you hung out with me all the way to the end, we're at 11 minutes right now. I try to keep them brief. Please share this. Share it forward, post it in your support groups, let other people know about it and about the rest of the playlist so that those who are experiencing this can find ways to get help. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and be safe.